in theory, we should, in theory, be going live. And hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life, the universe? How has your weeks been? Since it's been 2 weeks since we last spoke. How's things? I'm just as well as usual. Ha ha ha. Uh, yeah, yeah. How's things? Hello. How you doing? How has your weeks been? Hello, Budget Bench. How you doing, man? How's things? Hello, Jim. How are you doing? How has your week, well, weeks been? How's things? Oh, apologies for any well, not being a pro presenter today. I am not well. So I'm getting uh, I'm carrying on with life, but um yeah, there's maybe some less than ultimately professional problems, but anyway, I'm fine for now. Good. I hope that continues to be, stay the for now part is a little concerning. So I hope it continues to be for now, forever. Uh, um, yeah, it's I've had a rather interesting couple weeks. When I say interesting, I mean crazy. I don't know if I perhaps didn't make it all that clear. Last week wasn't me taking a week off, as in like me, going on holiday for a week. Last week was me working tirelessly, but working tirelessly just without posting or posting videos or streaming. Uh, which was definitely needed. I don't know that I would have got through last week if I hadn't had, if I had, felt obliged to be posting my normal uh, rota schedule of content. But yeah, it was still a crazy week, as it were. Hello, Yancy. How you doing, man? How's things? Um, it's Joe. That's come up on the screen over here, but it's not come up on my. There we go. Hello, Joe. How you doing, man? Nice to see you back. How you doing? I've got a free super chat worth a fiver, so using it as you still get paid for it. Nice. Well, thank you very much for your donation. Funnily enough, YouTube takes, what would that be, 45%, whatever. Um, so thank you for the like £2.60 or something. It's much appreciated. And yeah, thank you for using it on me. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm definitely glad that I took a week off from posting. Because I now do actually have a backlog of content to be able to publish and to be able to not be so rushed as to feel the need to have a video done like now, rather than, okay, well, this one's actually going out, next Friday, so if I have to roll this over to tomorrow, that's okay. I can live with that, rather than, no, I need to post this in like 2 hours. I need to finish editing. No, I can't have dinner until that's done. All right, I'm just gonna so yeah, it's good, and I'm in a more comfortable position now, if nothing else. Um, so yeah. Hello, Ish. How you doing? Hello, Simon. How you doing? Morning from Australia. It's are you on the like 11 hour ahead side? Or are you on the, I assume, 10 hours ahead side? I get that right? Um, I only asked because I've been speaking to Tim from Hardware Unboxed a fair amount, and so we've been sort of dealing with the 11-hour time zone difference between us, which does make things quite difficult to align the align communications with. Luckily, I stay up. Um, ridiculously late, as does he, so we have a little bit of overlap in the sort of evenings and a little bit of overlap in the mornings kind of thing, so should be okay. But yeah. It's 7 a.m. here. He lives near me. Nice. So yeah, you're the 11 hours ahead side. Time zones suck. We should get rid of them. While I like your idea, unfortunately, it doesn't actually change that people would still be, like most people in Australia are probably still asleep right now. Whereas, if you change the time zone so that it's 8 p.m. over there instead, they're still going to be asleep right now. It's just that they're going to, be asleep at what we would consider a bit of a weird time. Daylight savings time, on the other hand, that can, well, sort of. Time zones are less horrendous if no one's ever sleeps. True. Which is me. No, I do sleep. I just don't do it when everybody else does. Although it's annoying because it's also a bit of a uh frustration, I suppose. But anyway, that's the it's good to hear you've got through a bit of a backlog. I've recorded 7 videos this last week in the workshop. It's nice to do things again. My face in 4K is enough to turn grapes into raisins. I know the feeling looking at myself literally, every day on a 4K camera. Luckily, I sit far enough away that it's not so much of a problem. But yeah. But nice. That's awesome. 7 videos a week is incredibly impressive. So awesome. Are you planning on doing like one a day, or just posting them? Whenever suits, a fixed schedule. What's your plans? Hello, John. How you doing, man? Home finally. Nice. Is that back from work? I take it. It's sunrise at 4 a.m. would be a bit rough, so yes, I'm for daylight savings. Uh, I mean, so the daylight savings time would what change it to? Are daylight savings pushes it back for you now? Because for us, it doesn't. It's not useful in any meaningful way. Uh, like the I mean, it's Britain, so the sun doesn't really rise as much as just kind of slightly emanates more light. um, and uh, otherwise, it just means that in the winter months, you now have like it gets dark at 3 p.m. and it feels like the day should be over. Uh, so yeah, I'd much rather not have that. Uh, Not as bad as Barrow, Alaska? Question mark. 3 months of light, 3 months of dark. Oof, oof. um, Head 1 hour. Yeah, makes sense. Nah, I've been out all day, spending all my money on my old Astras service, MOC, equivalent, etc. Fair play, fair. It's always a fun time spending all your money when you need to. Um, yeah, how have I been? Okay, I mean, I've been very, I suppose, stressed and uh, overworking myself is probably the best answer. I have I would say a lot on my plate, as it were. I mean, uh, generally speaking, being a YouTuber, whatever, is kind of you have to wear all the hats. Um, Not to say that I don't like the job, or that it's harder than anyone else's. Not comparing or uh, complaining, as it were. Um, just as uh, a note that I have to be obviously the host that you see on camera, but I also have to be the videographer who sets up the cameras and records things, and cinematographer for all the nice shots, um, and the scriptwriter and the tech journalist and the I suppose data scientist, and the marketing and the social media manager and the finance department, uh, the sales and outreach department, um, etc., etc. So there's a lot of things already, and then when you add locally my link uh, shortening service, and honestly, the biggest thing has been the response time tool. Um, building this and all the software, and trying to create a standard for people to use, is has taken a lot of my time, and especially mental energy. That's kind of been the biggest one, if I'm honest. Uh, but yeah. I'm also not very well. But what's new? Oh, yeah. I did an update video on the status of Gadget Joe, explaining how I'm stepping back from the Gadget Joe YouTube side of things, working on content. I've had my to-do list, so likely 1 to 2 per week. Nice, that's awesome. In that case, 7 this week is a healthy backlog for sure. I lashed out and bought another Asus Helios case for my new Z590 build, so of course I now have to get another Thor PSU. Nice. Enjoy the what do you call it? Uh, Extra expense. Ba 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 ba. Where am I at? Fair play. At least there isn't how has your week been? Oh, true. I kind of forgot. And used to start at 5 a.m., then 6, now it's 7, which is my shower time. Well, apologies for getting in your getting in that very precious space. And I hope that it's still relevant enough to keep watching. uh I I think I'd like to ask you a lot of question. So let me pre-screen the audience, and ask, when it comes to monitor response times, just a yes or no, I suppose. Do you know what the monitor response time is actually measuring? And as a follow-up, how it's measured? As in, like, not necessarily the tool, but the methodology. because I'm very interested uh, to know, because uh, obviously in building this tool, I have had a lot of I've spent a lot of time researching and what you call it, come on brain, uh, understanding it, and so I am in a little bubble of knowledge, and it's often very hard to uh, gauge the the I guess level of understanding that the um, people who aren't in that bubble have, and so I'm interested to know. So basically, two questions. One, do you know what response time actually measures? And two, do you know what the methodology for measuring it is? So we have no, but not I assume that's sort of like FPS gamer, so don't really care about response times, but it might be interesting. I'm a real scrub with refresh, gray to gray, and latency. No idea about backlights or HDR. I believe I know what it is, not really familiar with the methodology. Tool to mind if it's bad. Yeah, yeah. I would say yes, I know what response time is. No, don't know how it's measured. Okay. Click to screen response. So that's input lag, as opposed to the sort of gray to gray response time. I like the UFO FPS page. That's a good demo with the other pages on that site, but not so worried. So I know why they read it and measure it, but to be honest, I've never truly been able to properly measure it and test it. When I get to written content, I'll be ordering a unit off you to test with. Nice. Okay, so I think the general consensus is the answer is either no no or yes no, but I don't think I've seen anyone say yes yes. I'm sort of obsessed to check all latency of my systems. Fair play. Do you test the monitor's response time specifically, or the latency, the input lag? But at the same time, it does feel bad when the system's slow refresh rate. It's annoying. Tearing is worse. So yes, yes, got you. So let me get a graph up in Photoshop of all things. Come on. Ba-ba-ba. Hey, that one. Zoom in a bit so that you can all see it. And that one, right. I'm not sure which screen this will switch to, so I can't, hold on, wait. Isn't there a... I don't remember. That one. And play capture, let's change that one. You can see that I'm a pro at this. Right, now how do I make it change? Or has it changed? There we go. Okay, right. Now you can see me and the screen. Cool. So, based on this, uh, this graph, which for some context, this is an example of a response time result. Specifically, this is one with what's called overshoot, as in the value, like the brightness goes past the point that it's meant to and then comes back down again. So when you measure overshoot, the peak value up at the top here is what you're measuring. It's how high up you go compared to the end value. So I'm going to stick a couple of colored dots on the screen. So assuming that you can see those dots, because I would ask you natively to answer this, but it's going to be very difficult with text. So the question that I want to ask you is, of these, the red or the yellow on the top of the curve, where would you say is the if you're going to measure the response time, which of those red or yellow points are would you pick as the response time? Should do a poll for this, but I can't be bothered. He says making a poll. Right, there we go. There's a poll in the YouTube chat. The blue line. Thank you. That's very helpful. the greater gray, the pixel response time, as in going from RGB 179 to RGB 204. Red looks more like a median or average. Fair? Fair? So, so far, 6 of you would say that red is the response time of the monitor. As in, if you're counting how long it takes to transition from the starting color to the end color, which is which of the two upper red or yellow dots, like, so measuring from the dot down at the bottom up to one of those two, which of those would you say is the response time, the transition time, how long it takes to go from one to one color to the other? At what level of gaming does it really matter? So the thing is that it directly affects your viewing experience, no matter what you're doing. For example, if the response time is so slow, we're talking between 20 or 30 milliseconds, anything over 30 FPS content is going to not only be horrendously blurry and smeared, but even just 30 FPS footage, like video, will have multiple copies of that video on screen, or called ghosting, at any one time. Whereas if you have a 5 millisecond response time instead, what you're covering, the difference is that the pixels are able to change color fast enough that they can actually display that new frame in full and be crisp and sharp. And it's not necessarily you can only notice this at ultra high FPS gaming, like playing CSGO or whatever. It affects everything. sort of linearly. Yes, to a point, it doesn't necessarily matter, for, watching YouTube videos or whatever, if the response time is a little on the slow side. But for any level of gaming, if the response time is really bad, then it is going to be a visually nasty experience for you. So full transition is yellow. Response time till a change is red. Got you. I'd guess yellow if it's counting the time on the x-axis to transition back. Yeah, yellow. As I said, have no idea. Not a thing I'm currently researching and learning about. As long as it's good enough to not be a smeary mess. Yeah, fair. So currently, the way that the response time metric is measured is some variation on the lowest point to the red point. That is the sort of standard. And that is, when you see a monitor reporting a 1 millisecond response time, that is what it is measuring. There are different, so you might just about be able to see that the lower values, in fact, actually, I have some lines that I can put on. There we go. So you can see that if you take an average of the end value, for example, or even the start value, both of the points are offset from the start and end. In fact, actually, that red one should actually be more like that. Well, probably more like that. So that that's bottom to bottom, red, yellow, up to red would be considered the response time, and you're sort of trimming off some portion of that. The default VESA standard is 10% on either end, so you measure from 10% up to 90% up that line. For example, Hardware Unboxed switched to using 3%, so 3% up from the bottom and 97% up from the top. And then there are other sort of schools of thought about that as well. So Simon from TFT Central uses a fixed RGB offset. So, for example, in this transition that is from RGB 179 to RGB 204, he currently uses an RGB 10 offset, so that would be 189 to 194, which is actually a very short transition, but it's also a very short window. And there's other sort of variants and options in there, but the long and short of it is that you trim some of that off to effectively snip off the slow tail that you get, especially towards the end value. But yeah, that's the red and yellow to red is how response time is currently measured. My monitors are 1 and 4 milliseconds. So the thing about those sorts of on the box figures is that they're almost certainly, when I say misleading, I mean not accurate, really. Like, it's kind of like how Tesla quotes a 0 to 60 of 1.9 seconds or whatever for the new Tesla Model S Plaid, but there's an asterisk that says you actually only get that time if you subtract the first foot. It's called 1 foot rollouts, and you're on a prepped drag surface with prep tires, with like half an hour of battery prep time, with very specific tires, with like traction compound. Like, you know, all of these caveats, sure, technically speaking, it is physically possible of, like, capable of doing that, but you're never going to see that in the real world, and you have to make so many sort of little, you know, concessions, little, oh, we'll just cut that off. We just need to, you know, that those measurements are not realistic, I suppose. In fact, one manufacturer, I want to say, I think it was Tim that was saying it, that one manufacturer quoted something ridiculous like 0.5 millisecond response time, but that was because they were measuring from like RGB, I want to say it was like 10 to 20 with 10% snipped off either end. And so obviously that, you know, that's going to be pretty fast. But yeah, that's the thing. I voted red because AMD. God damn it, Luca. They do crazy overdrive for it. Also, yes. So like the reason that I'm asking is my general preference for this measurement is towards if you're, let's say, if you're only reporting one measurement, you know, one response time measurement, I personally believe that the yellow red to yellow is effectively the response time, and then the red to red is a subset of that response time, which is still a very relevant metric, because the quicker that you can move away from the color, the original, you know, color, is makes a big difference to the motion clarity. However, if you're only going to report, you know, one number, my preference is towards reporting the more complete number, because, well, that is the actual response time instead, and it then includes that overshoot. This is a pretty mild case of overshoot, but you can, in fact, I have some hypothesized examples. So in this hypothesized example here, this is an example of pretty bad overshoot. The green line is the sort of ideal response, an instant change, but the blue line is the sort of actual hypothetical theoretical response, but with bad overshoot, as in it gets to the final value. So if you were to report the let's call it the traditional response time, you would report essentially, where's the shape tool? That one. You would essentially be reporting, of course it's going to be that color. You're going to be reporting somewhere around here to somewhere around here, and calling that the response time. Whereas from a technical sense, the response doesn't actually finish changing until over here, and obviously from here to there is a pretty significantly different number than here to here, right? So that's my sort of preference, if you like, and effectively why I'm asking. I'm interested to know, obviously, your preference and your current understanding, essentially. Hey, there we go. I did it. Cool. So yeah, should I get a 32-inch 4K 155 hertz screen? Interesting. Or a 27-inch 4K 144 hertz screen? So I assume you mean 144 hertz 32 inch as well, but generally speaking, I would argue that the what you call it? Come on, brain. 32-inch monitor is probably going to be a better uh, overall experience, because while I actually have a 27-inch 4K monitor that I've been using for literally years now, and I think I have another one around here somewhere, the the pixel density is so high that you're not really you don't really get much benefit from having that level of pixel density. When you sit a given distance. So at least at 32 inches, you kind of make a little bit more use out of that pixel density, rather than just for the sake of more pixels. Honestly, I mean, it kind of depends what your preferences are. For me personally, I would much rather have what I have, which is a 1440p 100 and in this case 65 hertz IPS display, because the pixel density at 1440p is more than adequate, and it's also a less intensive experience for your graphics card, and therefore you can generally push significantly more frames no matter what graphics card you have at 1440p compared to trying to run at 4K, which is significantly more pixels instead, and especially 27 inches. I can't say that the experience is all that much different using it. The only pro I find of the 5K 27-inch is having very clear emojis on Discord. Nice. Nice. I mean, to be fair, I have Discord on a 1080p 27-inch monitor that's both terrible and sideways. And so, yeah, my experience of Discord emojis is definitely limited. But, yeah, I'm not too worried. I might just try the 32 first. If it doesn't work, I can return it and get a 27. I had a 1440p 170 hertz, and I wasn't happy with 1440p. Interesting, fair play. I mean, obviously everyone's preferences are very much different. So, if you have already tried it and know that you don't like it, then that's completely understandable. And so, yeah, I think the for me personally anyway, the 32 would be my preference there. But yeah, I've been using the Acer Predator 34 ultra wide for 5 years. Love the wide real estate. I really like ultra wides as well. I have never found a way for me to integrate an ultra wide into my actual desk setup. I would definitely like to. I'm just not quite sure how I could make it work here, and with what I have available. But I definitely do like them. I do like the wide real estate, and I do like the more unique gaming experience than just having a bigger display. But yeah. Managed to squeeze 3 monitors and my laptop onto the desk. Nice, nice quality. Honestly, I'd have two 27 inches and I'd still like more. I have two 27-inch monitors and I'd still like more space, but I don't need it. Yeah. I mean, I have two 1440p 27-inch monitors and a 24-inch 1080p portrait, and yeah, I could always use more screen real estate. However, there is probably a limit to the necessity for that space versus want and desire. More monitors equals more efficient procrastination. Yeah, no, you're right. That's pretty fair. Accurate. 4 is too many. I don't know. I could have another one up there. Yeah. Ultra wide for the win. I can't go back to 16 by 9 anymore. Too claustrophobic. Too bad I can't afford / justify a 1440p ultra wide. and of course a GPU at the moment. Yeah, yeah, fair. Um, yeah, I mean like it's kind of funny when I've been I review laptops as well, if you didn't know. And what's funny is that there's a new trend in laptops of being 16 by 10 instead of 16 by 9, and it feels so claustrophobic. You know, like me using a laptop in general is already a claustrophobic experience compared to all of this screen real estate. But then when you then take away more of that width, and convert it into height essentially, uh, it's not an experience I personally like, and I'm going to be probably quite happy when we move away from those 16 by 10 displays in favor of 16 by 9 instead, or move back, I suppose. Ditto on laptops. Also can't stand laptop keyboards. Laptop keyboards, like it, you're definitely right. It takes me some time to get used to them. Uh, with that said, there are some laptop keyboards that are nicely spaced and tactile enough that I can certainly get used to them and not be, offended by using them. By comparison, there are some that I start typing and I go, nah. uh, and especially with laptops, it can be very difficult to get the right layout. Um, I think, what was it, MSI laptops for a very long time, if not still continue to, only give you an ISO layout, a non-ISO layout, as in a US layout with a short enter key, and move the backslash key from next to Z and shift over to above the enter key, somewhere around there, um, and that is very frustrating for me personally. 16 by 10 for work laptops. Gaming should be wide. Yeah, but even then, like, when you look at the Premiere, window, uh, on a 16 by 10 display, what you get is wasted vertical real estate because you can't have the sort, like, your output monitor that wide. Like 16 by 10 then just crushes that in some more. You then have the timeline that's crushed in more, and you have less space on the side, and you can't even really make use of the vertical space because of the limitation of the horizontal space. Whereas with a standard width monitor, you have much better, layout instead. Okay, you mean office work is in like Word documents in Excel, not, you know, good work. Yeah, fair. I mean, I suppose I could kind of see it for like 3D modeling, perhaps. I can imagine that like Fusion 360, SolidWorks, whatever, wouldn't be too bad on that because you're generally focused on a sort of a box anyway, and if it's a wide box or not, it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, but yes. Uh, Hello, Michael. Do you think that a cheap SATA SSD and a DRAMless, I assume, NVMe drive, for an old laptop with a weak CPU is enough for it? I had to replace it from hard drive to an SSD. So I think so. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the better the drive you can put in, the generally better the experience you'll have, regardless of the the CPU used. Um, but yeah, for a cheap drive that you just need to replace, an old hard drive or whatever else, just to keep the machine in service for a bit longer, any SSD is generally going to be a better experience than, you know the sort of hard drive that you'll get in a 5-10 year old laptop, whatever, right? So, um, yeah, it's going to be fine. I actually visually prefer the ANSI layout but can use both no problem. The key above enter is an apostrophe Z for me, and I can get away with not using that one very often. Fair. For me, the the tall enter key is peak muscle memory, as is the backslash key being down here rather than up here. From a developer and command line perspective, that's where it should be. And also the ampersat, the email at symbol, being on shift and apostrophe on my right hand rather than shift and 2 on my left is nice. I ordered a cheap 512 gig SSD for $44. Nice. That's decent. I'm used to OS X layout. Oh no. What's wrong with you? Ba 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 ba. 15800X versus 15900X gaming performance in CPU intensive titles like Battlefield 2042, Red Dead 2, etc. So I haven't tested either of those games, so I can't give you a certain answer. My assumption, anyway, based on my existing test results and experience with those chips, I actually have a 15900X in my PC. Is that the main difference between the 58 and 5900X is 4 extra CPU cores, rather than say a significant single-threaded performance difference. There is a slight difference. The 5900X is a slightly faster, overall CPU in sort of every regard, if you like, but it's not significantly different. And so even in more CPU bound titles, with something like CSGO really being the only exception, the graphics card is generally almost always still a bigger limitation than the CPU is. With that said, like I said, I haven't tested either of those two games in particular, so I can't give you a certain answer. But on the whole, I would still argue that for the vast majority of games, again, also depends on the settings. If you're talking about 1080p versus 1440p, and the settings in game, like if you're talking ultra settings versus something a bit more reasonable, medium or high, all of that adds together to say that there isn't quite as much overlap, as it were. Or I suppose there's a lot of performance overlap, and so there isn't all that much of a difference. Hello. Now hobbies with a newbie, or Tom. How you doing, man? How's things? It has been a long time. How's life, the universe, and everything? I see you've moved on from 3D printing to hobbies. Or maybe you just made 3D printing a hobby. Which, to be fair, kind of is. So, fair. Have you seen the open core Unraid container? Machina box. Nice. I haven't, but that's quite cool. What is the support like on the hardware side for that Machina box? Hello, Dan. How you doing, man? How's things? By the way, did you start including the thing in your monitor views, and when you go back to popular monitors and test it on them again, e.g. the CU34 G2X? One, I will be. I haven't. I don't actually have. Well, I've got a monitor uh, in for testing, but have not yet tested it. Um, uh, Tested it with it either. I'm actually waiting on clarification, possibly a firmware update. But sorry, pain. Um, I will be. Certainly, I'm basically making a load of both bug fixes and I'm sort of trying to build a standard way of testing, because effectively a number of people who will be acquiring these kits are the sorts of people who haven't tested monitor response times before. They won't have the I guess experience in testing that, in understanding uh, the metrics themselves, and what those metrics kind of mean in terms of the monitor experience, that kind of thing. So I think it's essentially my responsibility here to make a recommendation, not forcing anything. You can. I'm quite adamant in. It's open source. You can do what you want with it. If you want to test one way or the other, I'm certainly not going to stop you. But for the sorts of people who, won't know the differences between the different, methods and that kind of thing, that is something that, if I don't do anything, if I, say, right, here's the device, you can go and, do whatever you fancy. Here's, it spits out these results. Here's some settings you can change. Off you go. I think all that's going to do is cause further confusion, because everybody will be testing everything in a different way, which will then mean not comparable results, and will just kind of add chaos rather than create order, as it were. So I need to kind of iron that one out a bit. But yeah, that's the plan anyway, and it is very close. Like the hardware, I think I'm now very happy with. I'm settled on that one. The only it's just sort of software firmware tweaks and what you call it, come on, brain. Sort of making those sorts of, not necessarily decisions, but decisions. Do you have any laptop recommendations under £1,000? Not really for gaming, for office work. Good battery life, needs to be Windows. I can't say that I've tested all that many in that sort of category, so I can't give you a guaranteed, buy this one. I know that a number of brands offer options. I would think that you're probably looking at I think an Asus VivoBook, I think, is that price range. I think the what is it called? There's the StudioBook and the ZenBook. I don't think that you would find a ZenBook for under £1,000, whereas a VivoBook, I think you will. So that might be an option. I think Acer's Aspire line should be in that sort of range and should be pretty decent. I have actually tested an Acer Aspire laptop a very long time ago, and it was pretty decent. I think in a rough kind of mental maths, spitballing idea, I would say you're probably looking for a low power Ryzen chip, one of the 5000 series U processors in 5800U. Probably about 16 gigs of RAM, probably about a terabyte SSD. If it happens to come with dedicated graphics, for hardware acceleration, then cool. Otherwise, integrated graphics are going to be perfectly fine for work. And as long as it has reasonable build quality, which I know is hard to assess on a spec sheet, but that and a reasonable both brightness, resolution, and I suppose they're probably not going to list it, but panel type, ideally IPS rather than TN, for example. You should be kind of onto a winner there. I'm from India. I want to stream coding tutorials on YouTube. I want to use Prism broadcasting software. So what's your suggestion? I'm not quite sure what your question is. What's my suggestion for what? Also, I can't say that I'm familiar with the Prism broadcasting software. I use OBS, or specifically Streamlabs OBS, but I can't say that I've heard of the Prism broadcasting software. So if you can clarify what you're actually asking me, I can help in the 3 or so minutes that we have left on this call. Using it on a Ryzen 1600X as a flag when your cores aren't matching that of a CPU used by Apple. So for Ryzen, fair, but libvirt isn't working for me. Fair. I imagine that kind of might be difficult. I know how much of a hassle it was to Hackintosh Catalina, so I can imagine how difficult it would be to have a one size fits all like Unraid plugin that just works TM. We use Dell Vostro 3510s at work. They only have 250 gig SSD, but a reasonable spec, 11th gen i3, about the £600 mark. Fair play. That's definitely a more probably mid-range machine than I was perhaps thinking, but yeah, fair play. No worries, the Hornet. Glad you made it for the last couple of minutes. Running Monterey though, it's running pretty easy compared to how it used to be. Fair play. I wonder if there's any changes in Monterey that let it work a bit better. How am I doing? Okay. It's been it's been difficult a little bit. But I'm marching on. I have a stomach ulcer at the moment, which is living hell. Among all of my other things. So that's fun. And yeah, very busy. Very busy. But yeah, it's all right. I'm I'm keeping busy, which makes it better. But yeah. Well, thank you for the what you call it, support and sympathy, and whatever the word that combines both of those together is. Lenovo IdeaPad, yeah, that should be alright as well. Yeah. With that said, that is our usual hour. And I think that will do for that week. My stomach's already starting to hurt again, so I'm gonna need to go and drink some more Gaviscon and hope. But yeah, I hope you have a great weekend and week. I am back to normal. There will be videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as normal, and new car video every Tuesday. So you know, stay tuned on that, and yeah, I'll catch you guys. Well, obviously tomorrow for a video. Now watching, and next week for a stream. Bye, guys. See ya.